All right, today is November 5, 2020. This is the meeting of the Kubernetes Storage Special Interest Group. As a reminder, this meeting is public, recorded, and posted on YouTube. On the agenda, we're going to go over the planning spreadsheet and get status update for the items that folks are working on. Important dates that are coming up. November 12th, next week, is code freeze. So if there's an item that you're working on for this 1.20 release, please be aware of this deadline. If there's any code that doesn't make it by this deadline, we would need to seek an exception in order to get that merged. So please keep that date in mind. If there's anything else that you want to add to the agenda, feel free. The link to this agenda doc is in the calendar invite. Looks like somebody's already added an item about FSGroup. We'll go over that after we finish the planning spreadsheet. But please feel free to add anything. Ben?
Hey, Saad, you said the code freeze, we know that applies to the Kubernetes repository. What other repos does that apply to?
It technically only applies to the Kubernetes repos. The other repos where we have control over merging, it's kind of a softer deadline. But ideally, we would try to align with the rest of the project and make sure we have enough stabilization period and all of that.
Okay, so we would like it to apply to all the CSI sidecars, for example.
Michelle, I'll let you take that one.
I think it would definitely be nice to apply it to the sidecars as well, but it's not something we've been really doing in the past. But I think definitely being able to get that soak time and being able to release the sidecars soon after Kubernetes actually releases is a good goal to achieve.
Okay, understood.
All right, so jumping into the planning spreadsheet, let's start getting status updates here. First item is from Hemant, the online-offline resizing, addressing issues. Let me create a new column here. And is Hemant online by any chance? Okay, anyone able to give a status update on Hemant's behalf, or we can come back to it if Hemant joins later?
Hey, sorry, I'm here.
Oh, here we go. Hey, Hemant, we were talking about online offline volume resizing. Just wanted to get a status update on that.
Yeah, so I have, I'm working on, I'll be this quarter, I'm just trying to get the enhancements out for the allow volume expansion field and the secret thing. And I'm following up with the pod resizing discussion that is going on. So, but we are not going to write any code for this, in this. So just we have to, in this quarter, we just have to get the designs finalized. And I'm working on read write many update. And then Keshav, there, I don't know, KK, I need to ping him and I'll get a status update on the PVC being deleted while the resize was pending. He took the task, but I need to check with him where he is with it or if he's working on it.
You're talking about the pod resize stuff?
No, this is about like there's a issue Zing opened that like while the resize is pending, the PVC could be deleted. And in this case, if the user binds the PVC to the same PV, then the node expansion is never called. That issue. And the pod resizing screen is separate. But yeah.
Okay. And so for these last two issues that you mentioned,
read write many, and the PVC release. These are the two things that we're targeting for this release. Read write many expansion. I need to update the PR that I try to get in 119. And yeah, that's it.
Got it. Okay. All right, thank you, Hemant. Next item is volume snapshot for GA. Xing?
Yeah, so a lot has been going on for this one. So ETU test, I think the finalized ETU test is getting approved, so it's on the way to get merged. And then there's a test on secrets. I think there's some comments on that, so we need to move that one to the mock driver instead of right now it's for host pass and GCPD driver, which doesn't really use secrets. And then stress test, that's review in progress. And metrics work is also review in progress. So we did get a approve from Tim on the in-tree PR to remove the feature gate, but I think we still need to, I think Michelle needs to look at all the other aspects and before that can go in. So so on the external snapshotter side, so now we have break down that PR. Right now, initially it has everything together, the API changes and the controller changes. So now we break it up. Now it has one PR only for the API changes. This way we can get that one merged first, so that we then we need to update the external provisioner, we need to update release tools. So there's like this chicken egg problem, because otherwise if we submit everything together, we can't pass CI. So we're trying to basically move them separately. And then I've done some menu upgrade test for backward compatibility. So I'm also getting someone to help me to run more tests to make sure the backward compatibility works. Yeah, so trying to get this API PR merged first, because that's the first one before everything else depends on it. So.
Makes sense. I can help review these as well. Just feel free to shoot me an email with any of the PRs that need help review.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Thank you for the update, Shing. Next item is non-recursive volume ownership, FSGroup, currently owned by Matt Carey, reviewed by Hemant. Either of you online?
I'm here. So there was a metric PR that is in progress. I have almost a working PR of the API, the change going beta, but I am seeking some guidance from Jordan or Tim about defaulting logic. So when the feature was alpha, although the doc comment says that the default is always, but we are not doing that in the pod spec.security context. The default is nil. Like if you don't specify, the default is nil. And the reasoning being, like, if we did change the default to always when this feature moved to beta, then all the existing pod spec has to be updated, and that will cause unnecessary churn because daemon set and bunch of other controllers hash the pod spec. So it's undesirable to put a change in pod spec and cause rollout of all these objects. So there was discussion with Tim and Jordan last release when we moved it to, when it was in alpha, about how to do this, and in alpha it was, Tim suggested that it's fine to default to nil, but in beta we have to take a call. So the change itself is simple, I have done it, but the decision is like whether we should change the wording of the doc or we should consider like something else. So I ping Tim and Jordan and see if we can get some guidance on that one. And if we get clarity on that, then it should be good to go, and we should have like a way for users to skip this FSGroup in 120. So it should be, it's just waiting on a little bit guidance from them.
Got it. Cool. Thank you, Hemant, for that update.
And sorry, Saket is working on, yeah. I don't know if he's there. You there, Saket?
Hey,
yeah, I was going to add. Oh, good for you update on the end-to-end test.
Matt, we're having trouble hearing you. You sound kind of robotic, garbled.
Okay, I think the web client thing. Saket, can you give an update?
So I just submitted a PR for the E2E test for pod FS group change policy yesterday. So please take a look.
Sounds good. Thank you, Saket. Thank you, Matt and Hamad. Next item is the SE Linux recursive permission handling. Jan or Hamad?
There was no update.
No update, but I think we have a way forward that kind of we have agreed to. We need to capture it in a KEP.
Yeah. And we must hope that Clayton doesn't change his mind.
All right, cool. Thank you both for that update. Next item is CSI entry read-only handling. Humble actually gave me a to-do, and I need to go back and take another look. So next item is issues related to volumes or mount point. Originally assigned to Andy. Michelle's been helping Shepard. Last status update was 2 PRs being reviewed. Any updates on this?
Yeah, so I think one of the PRs, the author hasn't been responsive, so that may slip again. And then I think the PR that Andy is working on, Jan is helping with that. So I think that one should be able to merge in 120.
Cool. Thank you for that update, Michelle. Next item is storage capacity tracking, moving to alpha or remaining in alpha.
Yeah, so I think with the 3 items that Patrick is looking at, I think they're going to remain in their current phases, but Patrick has been looking at making improvements to them.
What is the output of the capacity tracking? Does it affect the scheduler? Is it purely reporting?
It's to facilitate plugins like local volumes that have limited capacity per node. So basically, CSI plugins can report how much capacity they have per topology, and then the scheduler will be looking at that when it decides how to provision the volumes.
Okay, so it is for scheduling purposes.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
All right, cool. Thank you for that update, Michelle. Next set of items. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. For the 2 ephemeral volumes items, Patrick has sent out a meeting invite to discuss the API direction that we want to go with this in order to be able to move these features to the next phase. And I think the meeting he sent it out to the SIG storage list. The meeting is next Monday.
Got it. Cool. So if anyone's interested in any of these topics, please try and attend that meeting. The invitation should be in the SIG Storage Kubernetes group. So if you are subscribed to that group, you should have an invite. If you are still unsure, I think it should be on our calendar as well. If not, just send Patrick an email and he should be able to get you the invite as well. All right, thank you, Michelle, for those updates. Next set of items are from Xing. Xing spreading over failure domain and volume groups, both designs.
Yeah, I think spreading over failure domain, that one's still no update because we are still working on this the following one. And this one, I did an update on the cap. I probably should schedule a review meeting again.
Okay. Next set of items is regarding CSI, moving the iSCSI driver fit and finish, and any updates here? Okay, we're going to skip over that. Fiber channel flex, any updates on those?
I have not gotten a chance to deprecate these, but I think after code freeze next week, I should be able to take a look at this.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Michelle. Next item is from Humble, GlusterFS provisioner. Let me see. Sent me a note. Moving GlusterFS provisioner from external storage repo. I would like to mark this as done. One small thing is pending, but I don't think we need to track it via the planner. So effectively complete. Next item is move out the NFS provisioner and move out the NFS client provisioner. Kieran's been helping with that. Kieran, are you on the line? Okay, I think the last status update here was CI pending. Hopefully we can get Karen's update at some point. Moving on to the next item, we have volume snapshot namespace transfer. There's been a lot of good progress here. All right, actually, now I'm thinking of a different item. Mike, you want to talk about this?
Is Mike on mute? I don't hear anything.
No. Okay, I'm going to mark that as no update for now. And if we get Mike, we can get a status update on that.
But does anyone know? Because I would love to know if there's something going on with namespace transfers.
I think there's a new cap, I believe. He submitted something.
Yeah, last status was closed an old cap, submitted a new cap with a new format, working on a reference implementation. So I imagine mostly the same.
So there hasn't been like a review meeting for it yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that.
All right, next item is CSI volume health. Xing?
Yeah, so still working on implementing it in the host pass driver. I think someone's got assigned to work on E2 test, but I haven't heard anything. I need to pin the person.
Okay. Sounds like pending work. Next item is generic populator data source. This is what I was thinking of when I said there's a lot of work here that's been done.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've been having weekly meetings, Tuesday mornings. We've made a lot of progress. We've discussed several things and basically had a lot of agreement about the direction we want to take this. That's the good news. The bad news is I've created more work for myself than I had anticipated. And certainly not all of it is going to be done in this release. So it's now a question of like, how much can we get in 120 and how much is going to have to wait. But the design meetings have been going well, and it's just a matter of really working on more implementation now.
Should we switch our goal for this quarter to design or leave it as alpha for now?
I think it's still within the realm of possibility to get the controller piece and the CRD for data populators or volume populators in, and then to postpone all of the work around the actual library implementation and sample populator implementation for later. So I think it's still possible that we'll get the important piece in 120.
Okay, cool. I will leave that here and then we can update it as needed.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ben, for that update. And next item is Object Storage API, Cozy. Jeff, Sid, Srini, anyone want to give an update?
Yeah, this is Srini. Actually, there are two parts to it. The CAP is merged, and we have discussed further items on the CAP. One of them is about the credential mounting. We got a very good idea on that. And then we have another issue about topology. I don't think it will be fitting into this current work, but we want to understand all the issues around topology and affinity. So we had that discussion, and we'll have that discussion today in the COSI meeting after this meeting. So on the development side, we are going good. All the components are in place, and we are shooting for a demo before the holidays. But still the CI work and the release tools work that is pending. That's kind of a bottleneck right now. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you, Srini, for that update. Looks like a lot of good progress here. Very exciting. Next item is FSGroup support in CSI. Christian Huffman.
Yeah, we had, last update was we had two different PRs open, one's relaxed validation, moved to beta, and the second one to include the end-to-end test. Those two have been consolidated into one. An initial round of reviews has been completed and their feedback incorporated. So now it's just waiting on a second round of reviews and approval.
Awesome. Thank you for that update. All right, thanks, Christian. Next item is CSI Migration Core. John, I haven't heard much here.
I am going to have to apologize for no update on this. I've been dealing with a slight discontinuity in employment, and I'm currently dealing with employment migration instead of CSI migration.
No worries at all. That is completely understandable. Okay, so let's scratch this for the quarter since we've got a week left.
Yeah.
And then we'll reconvene on this next quarter. In the meantime, maybe I'll sync up with Matt and see if there's anything else we can do here in the meantime. But thank you for that. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for that update. And next item is vSphere CSI migration. Divian?
I think we are still waiting for the results of the backlog. Okay. I will check.
Okay, thank you, Shing, for that update. Next item, Azure Disk. We're skipping for the quarter. Azure File. Let's see here.
Andy has a number of PRs and he's actively working on this.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle, for that update. Next one is GCE. Matt, do you have any updates on this? I know your mic has not been cooperating. So.
I tried to change my mic. I don't know if this is better, but I don't have any updates. Anyway.
Okay, no worries. I think he's still.
On the mic.
We can mostly understand you. It still sounds very odd, robotic.
Thanks.
No worries. Okay, next item. I think one thing you might want to try, Matt, is calling in by phone. I think that's one of the options for. Okay, next item is AWS CSI migration.
Yeah, so I had an offline discussion with Matt Wong on this, and He said he'll be actively looking into this, I think, after in the not for 120, but in the next couple months. So I think 121.
Okay. I'll go ahead and cross that out for this release then. Okay. Next one is OpenStack Cinder. We needed an owner for this. I think we're still waiting for an owner on this one. Anyone have any updates on that? Okay. I think this will be an important one as we go into the next quarter to make sure we find an owner. Next up is CephFS and CephRBD. Looks like there was some PRs. Then we got no update from Humble's latest update. He says Ceph migration from Entry to CSI PR is up, and I'm doing more testing. I couldn't progress on this much last week due to other commitments. Somehow I feel it's not a rush on it, and tried to squash it with the release, rather complete it in the next release with complete end-to-end testing. Can we please move this to the next release? I think that's fine, so we'll keep working on it. Okay. All right, next set of items are items that are co-owned between SIG Storage and other SIGs. The first one is SIG Apps, addressing an issue with PVCs are created by stateful sets but can't be deleted. They just sit around forever. KK, any updates on this? Okay, I'll mark that as no update. Next one is also KK, volume expansion for stateful set. Hamad, do you have any updates on KK's behalf?
No, I haven't heard anything from him again, actually. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll try to ping him and see if we can get update today.
Sounds good. Thank you, Hamad. Next one is SIG Apps execution hook container notifier for application snapshots. Shing or Ashish?
So yeah, right now, this week, we don't have any updates. So we need to schedule a meeting to resolve the open issues for API design. I think right now, both Shanti and I are kind of busy with the snapshot work, so we have not scheduled anything yet. So we'll
Makes
schedule
sense.
something soon.
Cool. Thank you, Shing. Next up is the Mount repo.
Yeah, this is Srini again. Basically, we are dependent on cAdvisor 0.38 version, and their PR is blocking our PR right now. They said that they'll make a PR this week. So there is a likelihood that we may not make it to this release. That's the last PR I submitted to remove the final dependencies on the mount details in the KK. So, and I also saw another PR for the containerd update, which is updating the cAdvisor to a SHA number, which will also work for us. If that goes through, then I might be able to squeeze this in. At this point, I don't have a clear visibility how it pans out. It may spill over.
Got it. Thank you for that update, Srini. I think we're doing the best that we can here, and let's see where it lands. Thank you. Last item is co-owned with SIG scheduling, prioritization of volume capacity. Michelle, any updates on this?
I have not seen PRs for this yet, but I believe Yicheng is planning on trying to make 120 for this.
Okay, cool. We'll get a status update on that next time. Thank you, Michelle. So with that, we are done with the SIG planning section of the meeting. Switching back to the agenda doc, looks like we only have one miscellaneous item today. This is from Runak Shah. FSGroup not being honored when FS type is empty. Runak, are you on the line?
Yeah, hi. So I think a few people already have some context on that, but let me just give some background for everyone. So basically with the external provisioner 2.0, we sort of added a new command line argument called default FS type, which is set to empty. So I think previously the external provisioner would send in the default FS type as ext4, and then the CSI driver had the ability to sort of override that. And the behavior has changed now to just pass in empty. And from a CSI driver perspective, you can still override or assign or format the volume however you would like to. Well, the problem that we found is that basically, if my CSI driver formats the volume with, say, ext4, that information is not communicated back to the external provisioner. And a sort of side effect of that is that if a pod is created with a particular security context and you specify the FS group, when kubelet tries to mount that pod, it sort of, the only information it has is that FS type was empty, and therefore it won't try to apply that FS group on your, on the pod or whatever, when it's starting up the pod.
So sorry, what would happen?
So basically kubelet ignores the FS group that was specified in the pod spec, even though the volume was actually formatted according to like ext4 FS type. And the gap that we sort of found is that the formatting information is not actually communicated back to external provisioner. And when kubelet tries to mount that volume, it doesn't know that it was actually formatted, and therefore it ignores the FS group.
And what is what does kubelet use the file system information for in this case with the security context?
So kubelet, I think, uses a combination of FS type and access mode to decide whether to apply an FS group or not.
I see.
But Saad, in particular, it's just looking, is the string empty or not?
Exactly.
If the FS type is set to something, it will try to like count all the files. But if it's empty, it skips that. And then the problem is that like if you leave it blank in the storage class, then it will be and you leave it blank in the external provisioner sidecar, then it just gets set to blank on the PV, even though the CSI plugin will undoubtedly format it with something. There's no opportunity for the CSI plugin to tell Kubernetes what file system it picked.
Exactly.
And
so
go ahead.
We are moving away from this heuristic actually. In 120, like Christian is working on the feature where CSI driver can just explicitly say that, okay, it's a beta, so you can do this by say that, okay, I support FSGroup policy to file. So even if there is no FS type in the volume, it will still apply FSGroup.
So the problem with that workaround is that there's already a workaround for the existing. The change that went into the 2.0 sidecar was supposed to solve this problem by allowing you to set the default in the sidecar, so that even if the user didn't put anything in the storage class, you would get a file system type in your PV. The problem is those provisioners that sometimes want to set a file system and sometimes don't want to set a file system, or if they have two different file systems that they may or may not set, then there's nothing you can put in the sidecar command line parameters that will always give you the right answer. And I think you're going to run into the same problem with the CSI driver CRD FSGroup policy. It's going to be one global setting for all volumes on that CSI driver, which is not what we want, at least in our case.
Yeah, I think the problem is that a lot of the things were designed around the assumption that drivers would only be for a specific storage system and not a driver aggregating multiple various storage systems together.
Or in our case, we have like one storage system, but multiple protocols. Like you could be NFS or iSCSI, and of course, that is going to affect the FS type depending on which protocol you get.
Yeah, so I think the actual the actual long-term solution, we need a way in the CSI spec itself for a driver to return what FS type it uses, because we have this problem for Windows too.
Yeah, the Windows problem is an interesting one where you could have the same driver be used either against a Linux set of machines or a Windows set of machines, and whichever one it gets mounted on first should be the one that determines what the file system is that gets applied, NTFS or ext4. And I think it's the same problem Ben mentioned, where you effectively have two different types of file systems that you want to use as default. So it sounds like the long-term solution here is a CSI change. Do we have anything in the meantime that would fix this issue or mitigate it for?
I mean, the main thing that people would have to do today is they need to explicitly set what FS type they want in the storage class.
And for people who can't set that because they have multiple FS types, do we have an answer?
Then you have to set
Not
it
really.
in the storage class. So what we're telling our users is, like, if you use iSCSI, just set it in the storage class always. If you leave it blank, you're going to get bad behavior.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying for drivers that support multiple storage types, that should be the workaround. For drivers that like they support only one, they should use the CSI driver object, I think.
Okay. Drivers that support multiple FS type. And then so set the FS type in CSI driver object. Drivers that support single. Does that capture it accurately, Haman?
Not FS type in the previous statement, right? For drivers that support multiple storage backend, like Ben's case, whereas one is NFS and one is iSCSI. It's like.
Well, it amounts to the same thing. It's two different FS types.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And long-term mitigation is what Michelle mentioned. Is anyone tracking that work?
Should we set this and create volume response for the long term? That driver be able
Well, so the challenge is for Windows, create volume is too early because you don't know until the pod is starting to get mounted on a node.
So when is FS type decided on Windows actually? Sorry, I just am not familiar with Windows.
So it's basically just, the first time we mount a volume on a node, we check if it's formatted, and if it's not, then we format it, right? So at that time, the driver can say, hey, there's no file system on this. I'm running on the Windows node. Let me format a Windows file system on it.
Okay, so just basically defaults to something like NTFS.
Yeah.
But in case of Windows, it doesn't apply FSGroup. If the FS groups are not apply.
Maybe not yet, but it's the kind of thing that we talked about doing someday, right?
I mean, if at all something like FS group applies to Windows, it may not be called FS group. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but you have the same basic problem where different users, if the container system is like virtualizing your identity from a file system perspective, or I don't know, your user ID, whatever Windows user ID is, then you need to make sure that whoever's running the container has access to the volume, and if they don't, you got to do something to fix that, like the FS group stuff. I think we just maybe we haven't gotten deep enough on Windows to find all of those security type, problems.
Okay, I'm just so we have a CSI enhancement like not being discussed to pass FS group or GID to the node publish node stage RPC calls. I was just wondering how does this interact? Like we discussed in the last CSI community sync. I was not there, but Jan, I think brought this.
You mean effectively pushing the logic that's currently in kubelet down into the CSI plugin?
For certain drivers, that's the only way because the GID has to be applied at the mount time. So kubelet cannot apply that. So like yeah.
I kind of like that because that sidesteps the problem altogether.
That could be a solution for the drivers that have multiple storage backends. Then they can decide when to apply FS group or not.
Yes, a combination of that change and the change to the CSI driver object that says don't apply FS groups for me would allow these more complex CSI drivers to opt out of kubelet's current behavior and to say, I will do it myself. And as long as all of the same information is pushed down, then the CSI plugin can just do the right thing, whatever that is.
Yeah, so
that's really appealing. And it's way less gross than like trying to communicate back the FS type from the plugin at volume creation time, because that's kind of hokey for, like it doesn't address Michelle's case.
Well, I think the other consideration for passing back what FS type the driver decided on is more of a UI thing, because then the FS type field would just be empty and users would have no idea what file system is actually on there.
Yeah, but like you're talking about literally modifying PB objects at node publish or node stage time, which sounds very kind of ugly.
Like it might be possible if we have it in the status or something. Maybe not the spec.
Okay, I think, yeah, that's a separate concern maybe, but I think we should track and I know like it was signed to me and try and finish the GID. I think work that to pass it on the node stage, node publish. And as far as I remember, but I had a conflict, so I could not attend. Jan told me that there was no major objection. It's just that we needed to, but there was not like James who was opposed to that adding GID as a mount option was not there in the meeting. So I'm not sure if we need to bring this up again, right? So I'll just link this here. in the document. I think we have
Okay.
to follow it
So
up.
does this summary accurately capture what we discussed? So short-term mitigation for drivers that support multiple storage backends, set the FS type in storage class. For drivers that support single storage backend, set the FS type in the CSI driver object. Or sorry, this should be
in the sidecar
the
configuration.
Right, the external.
Well, also the CSI driver object.
And CSI
but that's the FS group parameter, not the FS type, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for drivers that support a single storage backend today, they should set the FS type in external provisioner and set FS group parameter in CSI driver. And then longer term for drivers that support a single storage backend, they need, drivers need to be able to return the FS type, return FS type of volumes.
No, that's the workaround that doesn't work very well. The better one is to have the FS group stuff applied at node stage time.
Okay.
Which I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention when we discussed that, but I'm much more interested in it now that I understand what the point of it is. So are we going to cover that?
Does that also apply for single storage backends, or?
It could. I mean, it sounds
Okay.
like it's less necessary because you can just lean on kubelets behavior, but.
Yeah,
but I think in addition to this, in addition to letting the driver decide, I do think we should also look into a way to have the driver tell us what it decided just from a UI perspective.
Yeah, I think the tricky thing is that deciding on API type, how to represent it. Like we don't have status on PVs, and I don't know where we'll put it.
We have FS type on PVs.
Yeah, but you cannot modify PVs from kubelet.
Oh, I see. At creation time, you could set it, but then you can't update it. That's what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that works for people who know at creation time, but not for people who know at use time or mount time. So it would work for me, but not for Michelle.
All right, so how's this summary? So long-term mitigation, have FS type applied at node stage time and let the driver decide. And for nicer UX,
have the FS group applied at node stage time.
Have the FS group applied at node stage time and let the driver decide the FS type.
Well, let the driver do whatever needs doing for the FS type that it has chosen, and it's not kubelet's problem anymore. And that may make things way better on Windows. Well, I haven't thought too deeply about it.
Okay, so effectively what we're saying is Kubernetes doesn't care what the FS type is because we just give the option for FS driver or for drivers to be able to handle the only reason that kubelet would care, which is FS group. And if that's no longer a responsibility of kubelet, then we don't really care what the FS type is on the Kubernetes side.
Then it just becomes an interesting detail we show in the UI.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the second part, which is for the nicer UI. Ensure the PV object has the FS type updated as well. Because
when will that be updated? At what point? Is this like a month or at creation? Mount time? Okay.
I think it has to be a format mount time.
Okay.
Except that we don't know how to edit a PV after it's
So then
created.
who is updating this kubelet? Who is going to update this PV object?
That's a good question.
I thought we are not supposed, kubelets only can update.
I think
the
that's
status
part of the
PVT,
problem with this
isn't it?
approach.
Yeah, so that's part of the thing that we need to investigate.
Okay.
But that may not be a blocker, right? If kubelet doesn't really care and it's just for the UI, then getting it wrong isn't that terrible. And it's already wrong most of, or some fraction of the time today.
I'm gonna quickly add in a 121 spreadsheet and add these items on the backlog so that we don't forget about them. The first item's already being tracked, right? It's only the second one that is not tracked.
No, we don't have a tracking item for the FS group stuff.
Okay.
Like basically this is delegating FS group to the driver.
Okay.
But Hemon is already working on it. Is it, Hemon, is it tracked? Or were you just talking about it, not working on it?
Oh, no, I'm working on it. Just I need to present this in the community again because.
But is there a tracking item here somewhere for what?
No, I don't think there's a tracking item.
No, not in the spreadsheet.
I guess there is this FS group in CSI. Is that related?
That's what I was wondering.
It's related.
What's the difference?
This is about the FS group policy field in the CSI driver object, but in its current iteration, it doesn't have the option to defer to the CSI driver.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of the items that we are trying to get, and I think this will be tricky, is like we decided to put an on mount policy in the thing that Christian is working on the FS group policy, and only when it is mount policy, then only the GID will be supplied to the driver. And now I think we are tilting towards pass it always.
Okay. So basically, Christian's work right now is to change when FS group is applied. What you're talking about is changing where it is applied, basically in the driver or kubelet. Is that right? Or
correct?
Okay.
Yeah. But I think there's a if we decide to really apply GIDs, like send GID to the driver always, and it changes things actually.
Yeah, we may need to rethink the design around the FS group policy to make sure that it's going to be compatible with a model where we're passing it down to the CSI plugins.
It requires.
I mean, my spidey sense says probably it's fine, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think the other things that we had to consider is the FS group change policy that we are putting in part to skip the whole recursive thing. And if we are going to pass it to the driver, then driver is the one. Driver may not honor that thing, and it might always do the recursive thing, which is not great. But we have to kind of.
I mean, we can. Yeah.
Okay. So we had to. I mean, originally we didn't want to.
We might have to pass in that field down to the driver too.
Oh yeah. That requires another the spec change in CSI. That'll be tricky. So
Which field do we need to pass down?
There's another FS group related change going on right now to have pods be able to opt into whether or not FS group is recursively applied on every mount or only when the permissions changes. And that I think that information, if we delegate FS group to the CSI driver, that information would also have to be passed.
And what's the source of that? Is it an admin decision or a driver
No, it's
decision?
a pod.
The
pod.
Okay. So yeah, you got to pass it down then. Okay.
And that's at node publish time, right? We are also talking about node stage.
if we are going to pass GID, then we have to pass it both places, I think, because we like for drivers that mount the volume during node stage, they have to have the GID access and in node stage.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fun area. Okay, anything else on this? If not, we're a minute over time and we'll call it.
I guess while we're also talking about volume permissions, I think another similar problem that we'll want to start investigating for 121 is user permissions on files, because this has been a long-standing ask since the beginning of Kubernetes. But I think we should, actually start trying to take a look at this.
Okay, we're over time and this room is going to be used for another meeting right after this. So I am going to go ahead and terminate this meeting. We can continue this discussion next time if folks want. But thank you all for your time and take care.